Hi, this is Travis with Wakanda Boats here in Republican City, Nebraska and Glen Elder, Kansas. And today we're going to try and give you a real quick video explaining the Lund Sport Track system. It's a very common question we get. And Lund has added a lot of really cool features to this Sport Track system in the last couple years, so we want to try and cover the majority of it for you. We're sitting here in a Tyee. We're going to kind of go over the features. Real briefly, the Sport Track system was developed several years ago. One of Lund's chief engineers, Paul Zarn, actually came out with this technology. We owe Paul a lot because a lot of this technology that we enjoy through Lund was actually done and made up from Paul Zarn. So he came out with this, what we call the Sport Track system, and it was primarily designed in the beginning to give the owner a way to mount his rod holders to where you don't have to drill holes in the boat, and then they're not stationary, so you can move them around. So first thing we'll talk about, if you want to pan over here, we're going to talk about the sliders and how they work. Okay, so there's two different types of gunnel sliders that Lund has. We're sitting in a Tyee now. If you look here, the Tyee has the 45-degree angle gunnel, which means you're going to need the 45-degree angle slider to compensate for it. So like a Tyee, an Impact, those are two models that come with the 45-degree gunnel. Now, let's say you have a Crossover or a Pro V that has a 90-degree gunnel, which means obviously you're going to need the flat slider, what we call the flat slider here. Okay. Now when you get a slider, it's going to come in a package, and they come with three different inserts here, and they're all labeled. This is an A, B, and C. Okay. So the A would be the tightest insert, the C would be the loosest. Okay, so for a guy that wants to mount his slider really stiff where it's never going to move, you can use an A or a B. I actually prefer to use the C's because they're a little looser and it's a lot easier to take them on and off and slide them and move your rod holders. So a common question is how they work. So we're going to look at this slider. You can see it's got an insert here. So you basically just push this tab out and then you slide your insert out. Okay. Now, they all come with instructions. We usually put some kind of lubricant on these because it allows the slider to slide on and off a lot easier. But what you do is you just split this apart, and then we're going to slide it onto the track system itself. And then you just mate them together. Just slide them together so they're flat. And let's say you've got your seat here. A lot of guys like this rod holder right behind this seat. Okay, so you're going to take your slider and then just slide it on. And then when you lock this down, it's stiff. Okay, so it's not going anywhere. The beauty behind these sliders, you can literally install whatever you want on them. You know, primarily use them for rod holders, but it's also, you know, guys put there's other accessories that will mount to these, and we'll go over that in just a second. Now, as far as the rod holders go, guys, I know that everybody kind of has their preference as to what brand rod holder they like. We prefer these Ram rod holders just because you can see how much longer the shaft is on these. When you mount your side mount to the Sport Track slider, you can see it's setting about 3 inches below the top of the deck. So you need a longer shaft in order to get your clearance, your rod clearance. And that's basically why we like these Ram holders, because they already have that long shaft built in. It doesn't require an extension. But again, this will accept pretty much any side mounted rod holder. Whatever a guy prefers, you can use what you want. This is just a good option, is the Ram rod holder, because again, it has that shaft built in. Okay, so you can see this is how it works. Now let's say a guy wants to move this rod holder. Again, you just pull this tab out and just slide it out here. And again, you can slide it back, forward. If you want to move it to the bow, you just split these apart again, you know, slide it out, and then it can be installed, you know, literally wherever you want it. So it's very, very user-friendly and very versatile. Okay, now there's some other things. You know, there's all kinds of stuff that they've designed that will mount to these tracks. They have this really cool tool holder that's actually magnetic. This is designed and fits on it perfectly, so it can be screwed right onto the slider. Now there's some other things that they just came out with that actually don't require a slider. They have this tackle box kit. You can see it's got the insert built into it. It's actually sewn into the fabric. So that will just slide in there like so. Like this, and the same with the cup holder. It's already built, it's got the insert in, so it just slides in. Get that stuck in there. There we go, just like that. So that pretty much covers your Sport Track sliders. So you can see it's kind of however a guy wants to use it. There's all kinds of stuff that will mount to those. I didn't really get into the downrigger brackets, but that also is another accessory for a lot of the options for the guys that run downriggers. You don't have to drill holes in your boat for your downriggers. You can run those mounts directly on it. It's got a sport track system here, and it actually has a pro track system on the outside. So your downrigger bracket, a lot of those fasten here and here in order to accept the downrigger. Okay, another thing that they added a couple years ago to as part of the sport track system are these sport track buttons. Okay, now these buttons are very, well, they serve multiple purposes. It's a multi-purpose button. This button is actually on here right now. This being a tie-E, it has the sport top on it. So this is here so that when the guy does pitch his top, he can take this bracket. This bracket literally just slides right over the button and snaps on, so there's no tools or extra hardware to get your top to install. But another cool thing that they did with these buttons is what they call the bumper kit, and I've got one rigged up right here. So you can see it has this grommet here that it's made to literally just fold over the button, and then you adjust your height accordingly, throw your bumper over, and it's really handy. You're not tying any knots. It just goes on and off in seconds. So just pull that on and off like so. Okay. Now there's other things that this button does. You can see if we go to the back, on the premium travel cover, which is going to come with a lot of the boats, in fact pretty much all the boats we stock, the really cool thing about their travel cover that they designed, you don't require any poles. It has this internal drawstring that's built into the cover. Okay, so if I come back here, you can see it's got buttons on each side. When a guy puts his travel cover on, that grommet's going to go across here, and it mounts in 3 points to the rear and to the bow. And then it has a ratchet, so this is just going to mount tight when your cover is on. It takes out all the wind flap, and it basically takes the place of a pole, so it's a lot easier to put on. Okay, so that's another really cool thing that the Sport Track button does that we covered. So I think that pretty much covers everything that we wanted to talk about. Again, this is a very common question we get, so we wanted to do a video to give you a visual of how all this stuff works. So I hope this helps, and if you have questions, you can always email us. Terry's in Glen Elder, Kansas, and I'm Travis here in Republican City, Nebraska. Thank you very much.